There is a moment in the life of every human being when the ordinary world can no longer satisfy the longing of the soul, when the everyday routines, the shallow victories, and the small achievements no longer fulfill the hunger that lies deep within. It is in this moment, precisely in this place, that God begins to speak in ways that are unmistakable, in ways that can no longer be ignored. Divine revelation is not just an event, it is a process, a movement of God's Spirit into your life to illuminate the truths that have been hidden from your understanding. You see, God does not reveal everything at once because His wisdom is infinite and our capacity to understand is limited. But there comes a time when the veil is lifted, when the hidden truths are brought into the light, and you begin to see the path that has always existed before you. This revelation does not come because you have demanded it, or because you have forced your way into God's secrets. It comes because God has deemed that you are ready, that your spirit is prepared, that your heart has been refined enough to handle the weight of His truth. Divine revelation is never accidental. It is intentional. Every word, every thought, every sign that begins to appear in your life at this time is orchestrated by God to awaken something within you. You may have been wandering in confusion, feeling lost, uncertain about your direction, doubting your purpose, questioning the very reason for your existence. But in this very season, God begins to speak clearly. The revelation that comes from God is not designed to confuse you or frighten you. It is meant to clarify, to strengthen, to equip, and to set you free. It is a message wrapped in light, a truth that cuts through darkness, a key that opens doors that have remained closed for years. Many people live their entire lives without ever experiencing a revelation of this magnitude. They settle for what they can see, what they can understand, what the world tells them is possible. They are content to follow traditions, to accept limitations, and to live within the confines of human reasoning. But God's revelation transcends human understanding. It is not bound by logic, by opinion, or by the limitations of the flesh. When God chooses to reveal Himself, He does so in ways that shake the foundations of your thinking, that challenge the status quo of your life, and that demand a response. You cannot remain the same after experiencing divine revelation. Once you see the hand of God moving in your life, once you comprehend the depth of His plan for you, once you understand the purpose for which you were created, your life is forever altered. Divine revelation is intimately personal. It is not a generic message that applies to everyone in the same way. God does not speak in vague platitudes. He speaks to the individual, to the heart, to the soul, to the mind, in a manner that resonates with the very core of your being. What God reveals to you is tailored, designed specifically for the unique destiny He has placed within you. That is why it is critical to cultivate a sensitivity to His voice, to develop a spirit of discernment, to learn to recognize His communication, even when it comes in subtle forms. God may speak through a scripture, through a dream, through a situation, or even through a conversation. But whatever the method, the message is unmistakable. It carries a weight that the ordinary world cannot produce, a clarity that pierces through confusion, a sense of urgency that cannot be ignored. Many fear revelation because they do not understand it. They fear what the truth might demand of them. They fear the responsibility that comes with knowledge. They fear the calling that accompanies understanding. But the truth is, God's revelation is always for your benefit. It is meant to empower you, to elevate you, to prepare you to fulfill the destiny for which you were created. It is never designed to shame you, to belittle you, or to destroy you. Rather, it is a divine invitation to step into the fullness of who you are, to live with authority, with confidence, with purpose, and with clarity. When God chooses to reveal something to you, He is essentially saying, you are ready, you are prepared. Now I will entrust you with the knowledge and understanding that will change everything. It is important to understand that divine revelation often requires patience. God does not rush. He waits for the perfect timing, the moment when your spirit is prepared to receive the fullness of His truth without being overwhelmed. This is why faith is so critical. Faith allows you to remain steadfast in anticipation, knowing that God is at work even when you cannot yet see the full picture. Revelation requires trust. Trust that the hand of God is moving. Trust that the message will come at the right time. Trust that what He has promised will be fulfilled. You may feel that you have waited too long, that you have prayed too often without receiving, that the answers may never come. But the truth is, divine revelation never fails to arrive when it is meant to. When God reveals Himself, it is transformational. It changes the way you think, the way you act, the way you perceive the world around you. It transforms your priorities, your values, your relationships, your vision, and your understanding of yourself. You begin to see life through a lens of purpose rather than confusion, through a lens of clarity rather than doubt, through a lens of power rather than limitation. The revelation of God is not simply knowledge, it is enlightenment. It awakens the dormant potential within you, ignites the fire of destiny, and equips you to step into a life that is far greater than what you could have imagined. Divine revelation also comes with responsibility. It is not enough to simply receive the knowledge. You must act upon it. God reveals so that you may respond, so that you may step into your calling, so that you may fulfill the purpose for which you were designed. Ignoring divine revelation is like holding a key to a door, but refusing to open it. The opportunity is given, the guidance is provided, but the choice to act rests squarely in your hands. The revelation becomes powerful only when it is applied, only when it is used to create transformation, only when it leads to the manifestation of God's will in your life. The beauty of divine revelation is that it is continuous. God does not reveal everything at once because the journey of understanding is lifelong. Each revelation builds upon the previous one. Each truth prepares you for the next. Each insight equips you for the challenges ahead. There is a rhythm to God's revelation, a sequence that aligns with the unfolding of your destiny. When you learn to recognize the patterns, when you cultivate a sensitivity to His voice, when you embrace the lessons He brings, your life becomes a series of divine encounters, each one guiding you closer to the fullness of who you were created to be. Divine revelation is also a call to action. It is not passive, it is not theoretical. It demands that you respond, that you live differently, that you think differently, that you act with intention. It challenges complacency, it confronts mediocrity, it refuses to allow you to settle for anything less than the life God has prepared for you. When God reveals Himself, it is always accompanied by a push toward growth, toward responsibility, toward purpose, and toward destiny. The moment you recognize His revelation, you step into a new reality, a reality filled with power, with clarity, with direction, and with authority over your life. Divine revelation is the moment when God says to you, I have not forgotten you. I have not overlooked you. I have not left you to navigate life on your own. Now it is time for you to understand, to see, to know, and to act. It is a sacred moment, a defining moment, a moment that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the mundane from the miraculous. When God reveals Himself, everything changes. Your perspective changes, your confidence changes, your relationships change, your decisions change, and your life trajectory changes. This revelation is the seed of transformation. Once planted in your heart, once understood in your mind, once embraced by your spirit, it begins to grow, it begins to manifest, it begins to reshape your entire existence. It carries with it power, authority, clarity, and vision. It equips you to rise above limitations, to overcome obstacles, to fulfill your purpose, and to live a life that is aligned with the divine plan. God's revelation is personal, intentional, transformational, continuous, and powerful. It is the light that dispels confusion, the compass that guides the lost, the truth that sets the bound free. It is a gift reserved for those who are ready, for those who have sought understanding, for those who have cultivated a heart sensitive to His voice, and for those willing to act on the knowledge once it is given. When God chooses to reveal, He chooses to elevate, to empower, and to entrust. The question is, are you ready to receive what He is saying? Are you prepared to embrace the truth, and are you willing to act on it? Timing is everything in life, and there is no greater truth than this when it comes to God's revelation. Many people live frustrated, wondering why answers do not come immediately, why doors do not open instantly, why dreams remain distant, and why the clarity they seek seems forever just out of reach. The truth is that God's timing is perfect. He does not operate according to our schedule, our impatience, or our understanding of what is convenient. There is a precise moment for everything, a divine season in which the hidden truths of God are revealed and the mysteries of His plan become clear. Just as the sun rises in its appointed hour, just as the seeds sprout when the soil is ready, God's revelation arrives exactly when it is meant to, not a moment sooner and not a moment later. To understand the significance of timing is to understand a major principle of God's wisdom. God never rushes, and He never delays beyond the perfect moment, because His timing is always aligned with your capacity to receive, your readiness to act, and your preparation for what is to come. Impatience is the enemy of revelation. Many try to force understanding, to demand answers, or to rush into action before the moment has arrived. They read scriptures and pray fervently, yet frustration builds when the breakthrough they long for does not appear immediately. But God is not hurried, and He is not moved by human anxiety. He waits for the moment when your heart, your mind, and your spirit are fully prepared to receive the fullness of His truth. The delay is not denial. The waiting is not punishment. It is preparation. God knows that if He were to reveal everything before you were ready, you might not have the capacity to understand, you might misinterpret the message, or you might squander the opportunity He has carefully orchestrated for your life. Divine timing ensures that revelation is effective, impactful, and transformational. There is a reason why some people experience revelation early in life, while others do not see the light until much later. Timing is not determined by age, position, or circumstance. It is determined by spiritual readiness. God looks beyond the superficial aspects of life and examines the heart. He assesses the depth of your faith, the maturity of your understanding, and the strength of your character. When He sees that you are ready, when He knows that you can handle the responsibility and the weight of the truth, He speaks. Until that moment, patience is required, perseverance is necessary, and trust in His timing is essential. Everything unfolds in sequence, and every season has a purpose. What may seem like delay is, in fact, divine orchestration. The waiting is the refining process that equips you to receive revelation without fear, confusion, or misuse. Divine timing is intimately connected to growth. Just as a tree cannot bear fruit before it has matured, the revelations of God cannot manifest fully in your life until you have been prepared. Every experience, every challenge, every disappointment, and every victory contributes to the moment when God decides to disclose His truth to you. Each trial is not punishment, it is a teacher. Each struggle is not a setback, it is training. Each delay is not rejection, it is preparation. God's timing ensures that when the revelation comes, you will have the wisdom to apply it, the courage to act upon it, and the strength to fulfill the destiny it reveals. Timing and revelation are inseparable. To receive the right message at the wrong time can be more destructive than helpful. Therefore, God's perfect sense of timing safeguards you and guarantees that when the truth arrives, it arrives in its fullness and power. Understanding divine timing requires trust. It requires a belief that God sees the bigger picture, a vision that transcends human comprehension. Many fail to recognize the importance of timing because they measure their lives by the standards of the world, by their personal expectations, or by the limitations of human understanding. They wonder why doors have not opened, why prayers seem unanswered, why blessings are delayed, or why success has not yet manifested. The truth is, God's timing is precise, and He operates on a level far beyond our perception. Trusting God's timing means surrendering your timetable, releasing control over the process, and embracing the assurance that everything is unfolding according to His perfect plan. When you relinquish your need to control, when you stop forcing outcomes, and when you wait in faith, you position yourself to receive revelation at the exact moment it is most potent. God's timing also protects you from mistakes, from misunderstandings, and from premature actions. There are moments in life when people receive insight too early and act impulsively, only to discover later that they were not fully prepared. Divine timing ensures that revelation coincides with readiness, that insight aligns with opportunity, and that knowledge is paired with wisdom. It guarantees that when God reveals a truth, you are in the exact season to apply it correctly, to step into it confidently, and to maximize its impact. This principle reminds us that waiting is not wasted time. Waiting is a deliberate and intentional part of the process of revelation. Patience is not passivity, it is active preparation. While waiting, your faith grows, your character strengthens, and your understanding deepens, all so that when the moment comes, you are fully equipped to act. Timing is also connected to divine orchestration. God's plan for your life is not isolated. It intersects with the lives of others, with opportunities, with seasons, and with circumstances that He carefully arranges. Revelation in the wrong time could disrupt the harmony of His plan. That is why it is critical to trust not only in the message, but also in the moment it arrives. Every detail in your life, every encounter, every experience, every person you meet, and every circumstance you face is part of a divine blueprint designed to prepare you for revelation. God's timing ensures that everything is synchronized so that the insight He gives you becomes a catalyst for transformation, not confusion, for empowerment, not fear, for progress, not chaos. The patience required for divine timing is not passive waiting, it is active engagement. It is preparing your heart, nurturing your spirit, developing your understanding, and refining your character. It is praying, learning, and growing while trusting that God will disclose His truth at the perfect moment. Many people give up before the right time arrives, because they do not understand that waiting is a crucial part of the process. They become discouraged, disheartened, or impatient. But those who endure the season of waiting with faith and diligence position themselves to receive revelation in its fullness, ready to act, ready to respond, and ready to transform their lives. Timing also teaches humility. It reminds us that we are not in control of everything, that some things are beyond human manipulation, and that surrender to God's plan is essential. To trust divine timing is to acknowledge that God's wisdom far exceeds our own, that His perspective is infinite, and that His understanding is complete. It is a recognition that while we may not see the end from the beginning, God sees the entirety of the path, and He knows exactly when to reveal the truths that will guide us, empower us, and equip us to fulfill our destiny. Divine timing is the intersection of readiness and revelation, the precise moment when preparation meets opportunity, and when God's wisdom is unveiled to change everything. It ensures that revelation is effective, transformative, and life-altering. It teaches patience, cultivates trust, and strengthens faith. It protects from premature action, guides us to the perfect season, and aligns every detail of our lives to maximize the impact of God's truth. Timing reminds us that God's plan is perfect, that His knowledge is infinite, and that His revelations are always worth the wait. When we learn to recognize and honor His timing, we position ourselves to receive insights that are not only powerful but life-changing insights that equip us to rise above limitation, to act with authority, and to step into the fullness of our God-given purpose. Every person on this earth has been created with a purpose, a divine blueprint uniquely designed to fulfill a specific role in the world. Many wander through life unaware of this truth, drifting from one experience to another, measuring their worth by temporary achievements, fleeting pleasures, or the opinions of others. But God, in His infinite wisdom, does not intend for you to live in confusion or aimlessness. Every revelation that comes from Him is strategically designed to align you with your true purpose, to position you exactly where you are meant to be, and to empower you to fulfill the destiny He has created for you. The alignment of purpose is not a coincidence, it is intentional. When God begins to reveal His truths to you, it is always with the intent of drawing you closer to the mission for which your life was designed. Purpose alignment requires understanding that life is not a series of random events. Too often people believe that circumstances, successes, or failures happen without reason. They see setbacks as punishments, delays as obstacles, and challenges as unfair burdens. But divine revelation teaches a different reality. Every moment, every encounter, every trial, and every victory is part of a carefully orchestrated plan to guide you toward the fulfillment of your destiny. Alignment is about seeing beyond the immediate, perceiving the invisible threads that connect every experience, and recognizing that God's guidance is always pointing you toward your purpose. When revelation comes, it illuminates these connections, revealing that nothing has been wasted, nothing has been accidental, and everything has been preparing you for the mission that lies ahead. Understanding purpose alignment demands clarity of vision. Many people live lives dictated by fear, insecurity, or the expectations of others. They pursue paths that seem convenient, popular, or safe, but these paths often lead away from the true calling God has placed within them. Revelation provides the clarity necessary to see what is truly aligned with your destiny. It separates the trivial from the essential, the temporary from the eternal, and the distractions from the divine direction. When God reveals His truth, it awakens your awareness to what matters most, and it equips you with the insight to make decisions that honor your purpose. The clarity that comes from divine revelation enables you to navigate life with intention, not reaction, and to move forward with confidence, knowing that every step is in alignment with God's design. Purpose alignment also demands courage. Once you understand what God has called you to do, you cannot remain passive. You cannot continue to live a life of mediocrity or complacency. The revelation of purpose is a summons to action, a challenge to rise above fear, doubt, and uncertainty. It is a call to step into the fullness of who you are, to embrace your gifts, your talents, and your potential, and to use them in a way that honors God's design. Courage is required because alignment often demands change. It requires letting go of habits, relationships, environments, or mindsets that no longer serve your destiny. It requires standing firm in the face of opposition, criticism, or misunderstanding. But divine revelation equips you with the strength and the conviction to act, reminding you that when you align with your purpose, you align with God's power, and nothing can stand against the plan He has for your life. Purpose alignment is also a matter of timing. Understanding your calling is not enough if you are not ready to act upon it. God's revelation comes in perfect harmony with the season of your life. It arrives when you are prepared to embrace responsibility, when you have developed the skills, the wisdom, and the character required to fulfill your mission. There may be moments when the knowledge of your purpose is clear, but the opportunity to act has not yet arrived. This is not a failure or a delay, it is preparation. God ensures that every action, every decision, and every step is taken at the right time so that your alignment with purpose is both effective and impactful. Patience in this season strengthens your faith, refines your character, and deepens your understanding of the calling placed upon your life. Divine alignment also provides a sense of peace that transcends understanding. When you are moving in the direction God has intended, obstacles, difficulties, and setbacks no longer produce fear or despair. You understand that every challenge is part of the refining process, every delay is an opportunity to grow, and every trial is a lesson that prepares you for the fullness of your mission. Purpose alignment brings an inner assurance, a confidence that you are exactly where you are meant to be, doing what you are meant to do, and moving in harmony with the divine plan. This peace becomes a compass, guiding your thoughts, decisions, and actions, ensuring that every step is intentional and every move is productive. Purpose alignment requires discernment. Not every opportunity, path, or relationship is in line with the destiny God has designed for you. Revelation teaches you to distinguish between what is supportive and what is distracting, between what nurtures growth and what hinders progress. It allows you to see the difference between temporary pleasure and eternal significance, between comfort and calling. The process of alignment is about choosing wisely, moving intentionally, and committing fully to what God has revealed. It requires a heart that is sensitive to His guidance, a mind that seeks understanding, and a spirit that is committed to obedience. Every step taken in alignment with purpose produces multiplication and impact. When revelation guides you to the correct path, you are no longer laboring in vain, you are no longer drifting aimlessly, and your efforts begin to bear fruit beyond what you could have imagined. Your influence expands, your success becomes significant, and your life begins to fulfill the role for which it was created. Alignment turns ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes, because every move is empowered by divine wisdom, guided by divine insight, and supported by divine authority. The revelation of your purpose transforms your work, your relationships, your influence, and ultimately your destiny. Purpose alignment also carries a responsibility to inspire others. When you walk in the clarity of divine revelation, when you act in accordance with your God-given mission, you become a light to those around you. Your life becomes evidence of what is possible when one aligns with divine truth. Others observe your direction, your confidence, your courage, and your peace, and they are inspired to seek their own purpose, to embrace their own calling, and to step into the fullness of their own destiny. Alignment with purpose is not merely personal, it is communal. The revelation of God in your life creates a ripple effect that influences families, communities, nations, and even generations to come. The process of aligning with purpose demands humility. It requires recognition that your life is not solely for personal gain, but for the fulfillment of God's greater plan. Divine revelation reminds you that your gifts, talents, and opportunities are entrusted to you for a reason: to serve, to influence, to lead, and to create impact. Purpose alignment teaches stewardship, responsibility, and accountability. It challenges self-centeredness and encourages a mindset that values contribution, service, and influence above personal comfort or acclaim. Alignment is also dynamic. As you grow, learn, and evolve, the understanding of your purpose deepens. Divine revelation is not static. It progresses as you progress, expands as you expand, and unfolds as you unfold. Every insight, every lesson, every encounter shapes your understanding and equips you to fulfill your destiny with greater wisdom, impact, and effectiveness. The revelation of purpose is a journey, not a single event. It is a process of continual refinement, continual discovery, and continual action toward the ultimate expression of who God created you to be. Finally, purpose alignment is about living intentionally. It is about moving beyond reaction, beyond randomness, and beyond complacency. It is about choosing each day to act, to think, and to live in a manner that reflects the truth God has revealed. Alignment transforms life from ordinary to extraordinary, from aimless to directed, from insignificant to impactful. When revelation intersects with readiness, courage, and action, your life becomes a living testimony of divine purpose, a reflection of God's wisdom, and a demonstration of His glory manifest in human experience. Courage and faith are inseparable companions on the journey of divine revelation. You cannot fully embrace what God is revealing to you without stepping into both. Many people long for understanding, for insight, for clarity, but they hesitate when action is required. They want the light of revelation without walking through the door that it opens. Courage is the strength to act in the face of fear, to move forward despite uncertainty, to step boldly into what you do not yet fully comprehend. Faith is the unshakable trust in God's plan, the confident expectation that what He has promised will come to pass even when the circumstances appear contrary. Together, courage and faith are the engines that drive transformation, the forces that move revelation from understanding into manifestation, the principles that allow you to step from knowledge into destiny. Fear is the greatest barrier to walking in revelation. Fear will tell you that you are not ready, that the risk is too great, that the world is too dangerous, that failure is inevitable, and that staying where you are is safer than moving forward. But divine revelation is never meant to lead you to safety. It is meant to lead you to destiny. God does not call the cautious, the hesitant, or the fearful into greatness. He calls those who are willing to trust Him, who are willing to act despite uncertainty, and who are willing to embrace the unknown with confidence in His power and wisdom. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is action in spite of fear. Faith is not blind optimism, it is a confident reliance on the truth and the promises of God. Without courage and faith, revelation remains theoretical. It never manifests. It never produces transformation. It is the combination of these two qualities that allows the unseen to become seen, the unknown to become known, and the promises of God to be fulfilled. Faith requires belief in what is not yet visible. Many people want to see before they believe. They demand proof, evidence, or validation before they act. But revelation often comes before the circumstances are aligned, before the situation appears ready, before the world confirms God's truth. That is why faith is essential. Faith allows you to take the first step even when the path is unclear, to trust the process even when the outcome is uncertain, and to move forward even when the world seems to contradict what God has revealed. Faith is the bridge between the promise and the fulfillment, the link between divine knowledge and personal action, the foundation upon which courage is built. Courage demands risk. It is never passive. It requires that you step out of comfort, convenience, and predictability. Revelation often challenges you to leave behind what is familiar, to let go of what is secure, to embrace what is unknown. God's plan is always forward-moving, always expansive, always greater than the limitations of your current understanding. To walk in the revelation of God, you must be willing to take risks that others may not understand, to pursue opportunities that seem impossible, to commit to actions that may appear daunting. But it is in the exercise of courage that you discover your strength, your resilience, and your ability to rise above limitations. Faith and courage are strengthened by obedience. Revelation is never meant to be theoretical, it is meant to produce action. When God reveals a path, a principle, a calling, or a purpose, He expects you to respond. Obedience is the demonstration of faith. Action is the manifestation of courage. Without obedience, revelation remains dormant, powerless, and unfulfilled. The moment you choose to act in alignment with what God has revealed, you step into a new dimension of possibility. You move from understanding to implementation, from thought to reality, from potential to fulfillment. Courage and faith transform revelation into life-changing experience. Doubt is the enemy of courage and faith. The human mind naturally questions, hesitates, and analyzes, often creating obstacles that do not exist. Doubt will tell you that you are not strong enough, that you are not ready, that the timing is wrong, or that the challenge is too great. But revelation requires trust in the unseen, reliance on God's wisdom, and confidence in His power. The courage to act despite doubt and the faith to believe despite uncertainty are what separate those who merely understand from those who accomplish. Every story of divine revelation in history, every testimony of transformation, every life that has been changed by God's insight involves individuals who chose courage and exercised faith, even when their circumstances screamed otherwise. Courage is reinforced by clarity. The more clearly you understand God's revelation, the stronger your resolve becomes. Revelation illuminates purpose, identifies obstacles, and outlines the path forward. When you are aligned with this truth, courage is not reckless, it is deliberate. It is the confidence to act with understanding, the boldness to step into destiny with wisdom, and the strength to persevere despite resistance. Courage without clarity can lead to unnecessary risk, but courage fueled by revelation is powerful, effective, and transformative. Faith produces endurance. Often, the path revealed by God is not instantaneous. It requires persistence, resilience, and long-term commitment. The journey may be difficult, obstacles may arise, and opposition may attempt to derail your progress. But faith sustains you. It assures you that what God has promised will come to pass. It encourages you to continue walking, even when the destination is not yet visible. Faith transforms waiting into preparation, struggle into growth, and uncertainty into confidence. It allows you to remain steadfast, to persevere, and to endure until the revelation fully manifests in your life. Courage and faith also inspire others. When you act boldly in alignment with divine revelation, your actions become a testimony. Others see your willingness to step forward, your trust in God, and your resilience in the face of challenges. Your life becomes a beacon of hope, a model of trust, and a demonstration of the power of divine revelation in motion. Courage and faith are contagious. They ignite the same qualities in others, encouraging them to trust, to act, and to pursue their own God-given purpose. Divine revelation often requires sacrifice. Courage demands that you leave behind what is comfortable, convenient, or familiar. Faith requires that you trust God with resources, relationships, time, and opportunities. Revelation is never a call to convenience. It is a call to transformation. It asks you to prioritize the eternal over the temporary, the significant over the superficial, and the divine over the mundane. To walk fully in the light of God's revelation, you must be willing to embrace both courage and faith, to step into uncertainty, and to trust that every sacrifice will be rewarded in alignment with His promises. The exercise of courage and faith produces freedom. It liberates you from doubt, fear, hesitation, and limitation. It enables you to move in alignment with purpose, to act decisively, and to trust fully in God's plan. Each step taken in faith builds momentum, each act of courage strengthens resolve, and each decision aligned with divine revelation moves you closer to the destiny that awaits. Courage and faith transform potential into reality, dreams into achievements, and understanding into action. Ultimately, courage and faith are the catalysts that bring revelation to life. Without courage, knowledge remains unacted upon. Without faith, trust is absent, and the potential of God's insight remains dormant. Together, they allow you to embrace the unknown, trust the process, and step boldly into the fullness of what God has revealed. They are not optional qualities for those who desire transformation. They are essential. Revelation demands that you act, that you trust, and that you move forward with confidence. When courage and faith are exercised fully, the invisible becomes visible, the uncertain becomes certain, and the promises of God move from possibility into reality. Limiting beliefs are the invisible chains that bind the human spirit, the silent barriers that prevent ordinary people from experiencing extraordinary life, and the unseen walls that keep you from stepping into the fullness of your God-given destiny. Many people live under the weight of these beliefs, without even realizing it. They are the convictions planted by fear, failure, doubt, negative experiences, or the opinions of others, and they silently dictate what they consider possible, acceptable, or achievable. Limiting beliefs whisper in the mind, telling you that you are not enough, that your dreams are unattainable, that you do not deserve success, and that your purpose is beyond your reach. But divine revelation is God's way of exposing these false convictions, illuminating the truth, and empowering you to break free from the mental and spiritual constraints that have kept you from living your best life. Every revelation from God carries with it a confrontation of falsehood. It challenges the stories you have been told about yourself, the assumptions you have accepted as truth, and the fears you have allowed to dictate your decisions. Often, these beliefs are deeply rooted, formed in childhood, forced by repeated experiences, or shaped by societal expectations. They are not merely thoughts. They are frameworks that structure the way you interpret reality. But God's revelation is designed to dismantle these frameworks, to expose their weakness, to highlight their inaccuracy, and to replace them with divine truth. When revelation meets a limiting belief, transformation begins, and a new perspective emerges that empowers rather than confines, liberates rather than restricts, and strengthens rather than weakens. Breaking limiting beliefs requires awareness. You cannot change what you do not recognize. Many people are trapped in cycles of limitation because they are unaware of the lies they have internalized. They believe they are powerless, incapable, or unworthy because they have accepted these notions as self-evident truth. Divine revelation shines a light on these hidden patterns, making the invisible visible and revealing the distortions that have governed thoughts, actions, and decisions. Once you are aware of the beliefs that limit you, you gain the power to confront them, to question them, and ultimately to dismantle them. Awareness is the first step toward freedom, for you cannot break what you cannot see. Breaking limiting beliefs also requires courage. The process is not easy because these beliefs often feel safe. They may have been with you for years, offering a sense of familiarity, predictability, and protection. To challenge them is to step into discomfort, uncertainty, and vulnerability. But transformation demands courage. It demands that you confront your fears, challenge your assumptions, and step boldly into a new way of thinking. Courage allows you to face the resistance within your own mind, to question the validity of long-held beliefs, and to reject the narratives that have kept you from fulfilling your potential. Without courage, limiting beliefs remain intact, and revelation cannot be fully applied. Faith is essential in breaking limiting beliefs. Belief in God's truth, belief in your potential, and belief in the promises He has made are necessary to overcome the mental and emotional constraints that have held you back. Faith allows you to trust that what God has revealed is real, that it is attainable, and that it is meant for you. It replaces doubt with confidence, fear with assurance, and hesitation with determination. When faith is exercised in alignment with revelation, limiting beliefs lose their power because you are no longer relying on human reasoning, past failures, or external opinions. Instead, you are relying on the divine assurance that God has equipped you to succeed, that your purpose is achievable, and that your destiny is certain. The process of breaking limiting beliefs involves repetition and reinforcement. Often, these beliefs have been reinforced over years, so they cannot be removed instantly. They require consistent confrontation, consistent practice of new thought patterns, and consistent alignment with divine truth. Affirmations of God's promises, meditations on Scripture, reflection on personal victories, and recognition of past achievements all serve to weaken the power of limiting beliefs. Each time you remind yourself of God's truth, each time you choose faith over fear, and each time you act in alignment with revelation rather than limitation, the chains that bind you grow weaker, and the freedom that comes from truth grows stronger. Limiting beliefs also affect behavior. They shape the decisions you make, the opportunities you pursue, and the risks you are willing to take. When these beliefs dominate your mind, they restrict your actions, keep you from stepping forward, and prevent you from embracing the opportunities God has prepared for you. Breaking these beliefs transforms not only your thinking but also your actions. It changes how you respond to challenges, how you approach opportunities, and how you interact with others. Revelation empowers you to act beyond the constraints of your previous mindset, to make choices aligned with purpose, and to step into the fullness of your potential. It is important to recognize that breaking limiting beliefs is also a spiritual process. Many of these beliefs are rooted in lies that contradict God's nature and His promises. They come from fear, deception, comparison, or rejection, and they require divine insight to be fully dismantled. When revelation exposes the truth, you begin to see yourself as God sees you, as capable, worthy, significant, and equipped for greatness. This shift in perspective replaces limitation with empowerment, fear with courage, and doubt with faith. Spiritual understanding ensures that the beliefs you embrace moving forward are aligned with truth, purpose, and destiny rather than fear, insecurity, or misinformation. Breaking limiting beliefs requires persistence. Old thought patterns do not vanish immediately. They have been cultivated over time, reinforced by experiences, and normalized in daily life. Transformation is a process. Every act of faith, every step of courage, every alignment with God's truth chips away at these limitations until they no longer hold sway. Persistence strengthens character, fortifies resolve, and deepens understanding. It teaches resilience, reinforces commitment, and ensures that the new beliefs you adopt are enduring rather than temporary. The journey from limitation to liberation is ongoing, but each moment of alignment with truth brings freedom, power, and clarity. Limiting beliefs often create self-imposed ceilings. They dictate how much you think you can achieve, how far you believe you can go, and what kind of life you believe you deserve. But divine revelation expands your perception. It stretches your understanding, enlarges your vision, and opens your mind to possibilities that were previously unimaginable. When revelation challenges these beliefs, you begin to see that your potential is limitless, your opportunities are abundant, and your capacity for growth is greater than you ever imagined. Limiting beliefs may have whispered that you are small, but revelation declares that you are significant. They may have claimed that success is impossible, but revelation proves that it is attainable. They may have said that your purpose is limited, but revelation demonstrates that it is expansive. Breaking limiting beliefs also requires replacing the old with the new. It is not enough to simply reject a false belief. You must replace it with a truth that empowers you. Revelation provides the content of that truth: clarity about your purpose, assurance of your potential, understanding of God's promises, and confidence in your ability to act. The new belief becomes the foundation for your decisions, your actions, and your mindset. Every choice you make is now informed by truth rather than limitation. Every risk you take is backed by faith rather than fear, and every step forward is guided by purpose rather than restriction. Finally, breaking limiting beliefs produces freedom, power, and transformation. Once these mental and spiritual barriers are dismantled, you can think boldly, act decisively, pursue your dreams relentlessly, and embrace your destiny without hesitation. Revelation transforms understanding into action, knowledge into empowerment, and insight into manifestation. The constraints of the past no longer define your possibilities. The doubts of yesterday no longer limit your decisions, and the fears that once paralyzed you no longer control your life. Limiting beliefs crumble in the presence of divine revelation, and you step into a reality aligned with purpose, empowered by faith, strengthened by courage, and equipped to fulfill the extraordinary destiny that God has designed specifically for you. Knowledge without action is powerless. Many people receive insight, understand principles, or hear words of wisdom, yet their lives remain unchanged because they do not take the necessary steps to apply what they have learned. Actionable wisdom is the bridge between understanding and transformation, the pathway from revelation to manifestation, and the vehicle by which God's truth produces tangible results in your life. Divine revelation is not meant to remain theoretical, and insight is not meant to stay abstract. Every message, every understanding, and every clarity that God provides carries with it an expectation that you will do something with it. Wisdom becomes powerful only when it is applied, executed, and lived out consistently. Actionable wisdom requires discernment. It is not simply acting on every thought, impulse, or suggestion that comes into your mind. God's revelation guides you to understand what is aligned with your purpose, what is in season, and what will produce fruit in your life. Discernment allows you to distinguish between what is necessary and what is trivial, between what is constructive and what is distracting, and between what is aligned with divine guidance and what is driven by human emotion or fear. It is the filter that ensures every action you take is purposeful, intentional, and directed toward fulfilling the destiny God has designed for you. Without discernment, action becomes erratic, inconsistent, and ineffective. Wisdom without action is like a seed that never touches soil. It remains dormant, unproductive, and unrealized. But the moment you act on divine insight, the seed of understanding is planted into the soil of experience. Action transforms knowledge into experience, theory into reality, and revelation into manifestation. Each step you take in alignment with God's wisdom strengthens your confidence, builds momentum, and sets the stage for further revelation. The cycle of insight, application, and results creates a compounding effect. The more you act wisely, the more clarity you receive, the more empowered you become, and the greater your capacity to fulfill your purpose. Actionable wisdom demands courage and commitment. Applying divine insight often requires stepping into the unknown, taking risks, and making decisions that may be unpopular or misunderstood. It may challenge your comfort zone, require sacrifice, or demand that you leave behind old patterns and habits. But every act of courage in alignment with wisdom produces growth. Every bold step taken in faith strengthens your character. Every risk embraced with discernment expands your influence and capacity. Actionable wisdom does not guarantee ease, but it guarantees progress, development, and alignment with God's intended outcomes. Consistency is the cornerstone of actionable wisdom. One-time actions are rarely transformative. Repeated, persistent, and deliberate action is what produces lasting results. Every day, every decision, every effort aligned with divine insight compounds over time to create momentum, mastery, and achievement. Consistency builds trust in God's process, reinforces belief in His promises, and demonstrates commitment to your purpose. Without consistent application, wisdom remains theoretical, potential remains untapped, and opportunities are squandered. Divine revelation is a gift, but actionable wisdom is the discipline that converts the gift into life-changing results. Actionable wisdom also requires humility. It is not about proving oneself, asserting control, or demonstrating superiority. It is about surrendering to God's guidance, recognizing that His understanding surpasses human reasoning, and allowing His insight to direct your steps. Humility enables you to listen carefully, to follow faithfully, and to act obediently. It creates a posture of teachability, allowing you to adapt, correct, and refine your approach as you gain experience. Wisdom applied without humility can become arrogance, but wisdom exercised with humility produces integrity, effectiveness, and long-term impact. The practice of actionable wisdom involves both strategic planning and practical execution. Revelation may provide clarity about your purpose, goals, or direction, but without a plan and deliberate steps, insight remains ineffective. Strategic planning involves identifying priorities, establishing goals, and determining the sequence of actions necessary to move toward your vision. Practical execution involves implementing the plan, making adjustments as needed, and consistently taking steps that bring the vision closer to reality. Both elements are necessary because wisdom without strategy can be misguided, and strategy without execution remains a plan, not a reality. Actionable wisdom also creates influence. When you act on insight, others observe the results. Your decisions, your actions, and the outcomes they produce serve as examples, inspiration, and guidance to those around you. By applying wisdom effectively, you not only transform your own life, but you also impact families, communities, and generations. Divine revelation, when paired with decisive action, becomes a force multiplier, amplifying influence far beyond personal achievement. People begin to trust your judgment, respect your decisions, and seek your guidance, creating a ripple effect of impact rooted in the practical application of divine insight. Faith is integral to actionable wisdom. Often, the outcomes of our actions are not immediately visible. Results may be delayed, circumstances may appear contrary, and progress may seem slow. Faith allows you to act with confidence, knowing that God is working behind the scenes. It sustains your efforts, strengthens your commitment, and empowers you to continue taking steps even when immediate results are not apparent. Actionable wisdom without faith is unreliable, but when faith accompanies applied insight, the combination produces unstoppable momentum, resilience, and transformation. Reflection and evaluation are essential components of actionable wisdom. Acting on revelation is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process of learning, adapting, and refining. Each action provides feedback, each outcome offers lessons, and each experience contributes to growth. By reflecting on your actions, you gain deeper understanding of God's guidance, learn how to adjust strategies, and identify areas for improvement. This iterative process ensures that your application of wisdom is effective, efficient, and aligned with purpose. It prevents stagnation, promotes growth, and maximizes the results of every decision. Actionable wisdom also requires patience. Transformation and results are rarely instantaneous. Even the most strategic, well-executed actions take time to produce meaningful outcomes. Patience ensures that you remain committed, persistent, and steadfast while waiting for the full manifestation of God's promises. It allows you to endure setbacks without discouragement, to persist through challenges without abandoning the path, and to maintain alignment with divine timing. Wisdom applied hastily or impatiently may yield temporary results, but wisdom exercised with patience produces lasting, sustainable, and transformative impact. The ultimate purpose of actionable wisdom is empowerment. It moves revelation from knowledge to practice, from potential to reality, and from insight to transformation. It equips you to make better decisions, take more effective action, overcome obstacles, and achieve results that reflect God's design for your life. Actionable wisdom bridges the gap between knowing and doing, transforms understanding into mastery, and converts revelation into a powerful force for progress, growth, and destiny fulfillment. Finally, actionable wisdom transforms life holistically. It shapes your decisions, directs your priorities, guides your relationships, influences your actions, and empowers your purpose. It ensures that divine revelation is not wasted, that insight is not theoretical, and that knowledge produces tangible, measurable, and life-changing outcomes. It is the practical application of God's truth in everyday living, the discipline of turning understanding into implementation, and the pathway by which revelation becomes reality. Every step taken in alignment with actionable wisdom strengthens faith, deepens purpose, cultivates influence, and moves you closer to the fullness of the life God has designed specifically for you. Now you understand that God's revelation is not a casual whisper. It is a deliberate, divine communication meant to transform your life from the inside out. He has chosen this moment to speak, to illuminate your path, to dismantle limitations, and to empower you to step fully into your purpose. Everything you have heard, the timing of disclosure, the alignment with your purpose, the courage and faith required, the breaking of limiting beliefs, and the application of actionable wisdom, is not theory. It is a blueprint for living a life of significance, influence, and impact. God is calling you to rise above hesitation, to embrace His truth, and to act decisively. He is calling you to recognize that everything that has delayed you, tested you, or tried you, was preparing you for this very season of clarity and empowerment. The truth that has been revealed is meant to ignite your potential, to unlock your destiny, and to propel you into the fullness of your God-given mission. So now, the question is not whether God has spoken, but whether you will respond. Will you walk in courage when fear beckons? Will you step into faith when uncertainty surrounds you? Will you apply the wisdom He has given, even when the path seems challenging? This is the moment to choose obedience, to embrace revelation, and to commit to the life of purpose, power, and influence that God has designed specifically for you. Remember, God does not reveal lightly, and He does not withhold without reason. He has chosen this moment to tell you everything because He knows that you are ready. He knows that you are capable. He knows that you are meant to rise. The life of greatness, the impact of significance, and the fulfillment of destiny await those who respond, who act, and who live in alignment with the divine truth now revealed. This is your season, your moment, your opportunity. Step into it boldly, live it faithfully, and let nothing stop you from walking fully in the destiny God has prepared for you.